Obviously, in our country, there was the No Kings protest, which I've got a couple of comments about that are,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be popular or not, but I think they're just logical. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to, necessarily berate or poke fun or whatever, but either come up with a better title. And you know what? Let's just start here because I just want to pick on this. Okay.
Welcome to the show. Now, please strap in for the truth and remember the words of the great Tom Cruise.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Now, welcome to Off Topic on Porn.
All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this may find you. We are happy to have you, O-Toppers. I am Rob Looper. We are back for another episode, and as always, I'm joined by my cohort in podcasting, off-topic on pointness, Russell Cruzan. Russell, what's happening? How you doing today?
Hey, not doing bad. Doing pretty well, Rob. How are you doing?
Oh, you know what? No complaints. Honestly, it's been a busy week, but it's been a good week. I figure,
Mhm.
it's kind of one of those things you could complain about it, but who really wants to listen to that, right? That's not why people
Yeah,
tune in, right?
as they say, it'll do you no good.
It'll do
So,
you no good, and yeah, you'll get no sympathy here, right? So,
right.
but no, it's been a good week. I hope yours has been good, and it's always good to see you, talk to you, and go ahead and get on here and talk to the O-Toppers and um, see what's going on and kind of go through some of the
Yeah.
news of the week and some of the points of the week, and and as always, we'll ask you to, as our OTOP family, to help us. If you need to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us at otopnow@gmail.com. But also hit that like, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, tell other people. Try to bring somebody into the OTOP family.
Yeah.
Bring them in, and have them listen and have them hit that share, that like, that subscribe button. Let's grow the OTOP family. We can always use more
Also,
family members.
don't forget to comment, like,
Yes.
subscribe, and comment.
And you know
That's the
what?
big.
Do comment. That helps that algorithm too. We're in the days of the algorithm, and you know what? So that we can get it to more people, the more listens, the more likes, the more comments, the more subscribes we have on all of our channels, the
Yes,
better. So anywhere podcasts can be listened to, we are there. So yeah.
absolutely
So
right.
please like, subscribe, comment, send us a note, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So. Anyway, so today, Russell, there's a lot going on in the world, but
Yeah,
we'll talk
definitely.
some. I guess we need to talk about the hostages being released. That was good news, and
That was good news.
and it seems like and you and I had talked about this. We didn't know what the over under was, but on Hamas breaking the ceasefire, we'll talk a little bit about that, and then obviously in our country there was the No Kings protest, which I've got a couple of comments about that are
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be popular or not, but I think they're just logical. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to, necessarily berate or poke fun or whatever, but either come up with a better title. And you know what? Let's just start here because I just want to pick on this. Okay. I was going to save
Okay.
it for last, but let's just start here with No Kings. Okay.
All right.
You know what? If you're going to call something No Kings, we ought to have one first before you call it No Kings protest. And here's what I mean. Well, we don't have a king and we haven't had one. That's one of the reasons we revolted. People go, well, yeah, that's what we're protesting because we don't have a king. And the way that you would prove this point is because you can have the protest because a dictatorship, a monarchy, or whatever the case may be would not let you have that protest. Okay, they've tried it in the past. It didn't work. It was put down. Kings would, jail people, behead people, flog them, draw and quarter them in
Yeah.
the public square to, stop said protest. But we live in now let me be clear, we don't technically live in a democracy. We live in a representative republic, okay?
Yeah.
But
Called also a constitutional democratic
thank you.
republic,
Exactly.
and it's democratic
Yes,
because there is some voting. For example,
exactly.
we vote
We
for
vote for our
our officials,
representatives. Yes, and
and there are some things, there's some items, especially on the state and local level, that
yeah,
we will vote for.
absolutely.
But it's and so you know
And we
the
are
majority in those voting situations rules. Although that's mitigated also when it comes to on the national level, because we have it's not majority of the people,
Right.
but it's electoral votes.
Yep.
And electoral votes doesn't necessarily mean that the popular majority wins the presidency.
That's right.
So that's something for us to remember also. And so that for all these reasons, we we don't want a democracy, Rob.
No, we don't.
A democracy, majority rules, and majority rules. We could if it takes just 51% of the population to pass anything, which is what a democracy would be,
Right.
then we could our population could take some really bad turns and vote some really heinous things in really easily that would hurt 49% of the population or
Sure.
less. So a Republican form of government is designed to offer safeguards for the minority, whoever
Absolutely.
the minority may be in a given situation.
Absolutely.
So we're a representative because we have representatives,
Right.
Democratic because there is voting, Republic because the voting is not majority rule type of voting, but of a
Right.
different sort.
Yep.
And
Nope.
it is also based on biblical Judeo-Christian
Value.
principles. I say
Yes.
Judeo-Christian principles with apologies to Candace Owens, or maybe no apologies,
Well,
because
here.
there is such a thing as Judeo-Christian, the
Yes.
Judeo-Christian ethic, and Christianity is actually an outworking of Judaism and was
Right.
actually considered a minor sect of Judaism in the early days of the church. So just thought
Agree.
I'd throw that in for good measure.
No, I'm 100% agree with you. And here's the thing. Um, if you are going to name something such as this No Kings protest, make
Hmm.
sure that you have a king. And just because you don't agree, because I think, as I've read their statements and everything, it's well, we're protesting the overreach of, in this instance, Donald Trump. Okay,
Yeah,
if you have a problem with with what you perceive as his overreach, don't call it. He's not a king, because he has faced his own setbacks. The Supreme Court, the states have said you can't send the National Guard, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, and they're doing it, and there's crime all over the place. But they're like, no, we don't want your help because we'd rather not give you a win, or we'd rather not whatever. The people, not the politicians, but the people are begging for help. They can't get it because we can't give him a win. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of that,
right.
but he's not some oligarch that can just do whatever he wants,
No,
or some king that can just override the states. So the fact that he doesn't just roll troops in everywhere he wants, well, that in and of itself proves that this No Kings protest, you got it. No problem. He's not a king. And in
no,
fact, when his time is up, he will no longer be the president of the United States. A king is not, you know,
yeah,
step downable. Meaning he's the king until he dies. A perfect example is in Britain with Queen Elizabeth. She was the queen for a very, very,
yes, he was.
very long time. And you couldn't vote her out. You couldn't decide we'd like to impeach her or we'd like to vote in a new queen. Her
Right,
term is up. There is no term for a queen or a king.
right,
Their
right,
term is
right.
their
It's a
life.
monarchy.
It's a monarchy. And
Right.
so it really just shows this, I don't want to say derangement. It just shows a lack of thought, but it also shows that it's just talking
Uh,
points. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, it's
It's just like, hey, well, we're just riling people up
yeah,
to say, to say, oh well, we just want to, let everybody know he's a king, he's a tyrant, he's this, he's that. Okay, great. If you have a problem, then let's talk about it. But this idea of no kings, hey, I agree with that. No kings. I don't want a king. I don't want a king from the left. I don't want a king from a right. We fought a revolutionary war so that we wouldn't have a king, and we don't. Now, you may not like the person that's in there, but this country gives you the right to redress that through the vote legally, using legal means and not, cheating and doing all those other things. And I'm not saying anybody did or didn't, but I'm just saying legal. On this show, we are a fan of legal, of all things being,
mhm,
being done
right.
the proper way through legal channels, following the law as accordance and how it's set down. But here's the thing: I am not I'm not a fan of this whole, let's just name thing. Like it's like the people and they go, well, I don't like fascism. I don't like fascism either, by the way. I think
Do you know what it
fascism's
is?
terrible. But do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Because fascism is, one of the hallmarks of fascism is not letting the free market of ideas
Yep.
be shared.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why you kill people.
right, exactly, because
Kill
they don't have
people
the
because
same
they
idea
have
you do.
alternative ideas
Right,
so that you can get rid of the ideas
right,
because they exist in the minds of people
right.
and
So
you
I
don't
think
want those thoughts expressed.
right. So I think it's very interesting, when we look at all this stuff that we see, these no kings protests, and from what I understand, it was a it can some of them turned into circuses, some of them were peaceful, some were. Look, I don't. We have see again. You know how I know we don't have a dictatorship or a monarchy, Russell, because we have the
Because
right to
that would all be
protest.
dead
Well,
right
yeah,
now.
exactly. We have the right to
They'd all be
protest
arrested, being hanged or whatever.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that's how I know we don't have a king because go look at any other place where there's communism, socialism, and there's
Yeah.
dictatorships.
Well, they don't have kings either.
No, they have a ruling
The
class.
monarchs are what have kings.
Right. No, I'm just saying, but any of those other places where there is a king or where there is a dictator of some type, some kind
Yeah.
of, you know, authoritarian power where it
Yeah.
looks like a
They're
monarchy or
the
is a monarchy. You don't get to do that.
no.
You don't
Well,
get
and
to.
of course, these guys know that, Rob. They know it. That's not even the point. You're being very gracious with them.
Well,
If they were sitting here and listening to you talk right now, you would be explaining nothing to them that would change anything.
yeah,
They don't care. They are doing this because they're trying to use lies. They
sure.
don't care if it's the truth or not. They're trying to use whatever manipulative tool they can to get people to think a certain way because they don't like the president. It's that simple. They don't like what he's doing.
Right.
And it's really that simple. So these are not good people. They're not honest protesters. I really don't care if people don't like me saying that. I guess I should say that's my opinion, because that's what you're supposed to do on these public venues. But
Right.
the truth is, if you, just like you said, if people would just do basic, I mean, I've got an 11-year-old niece that could teach them some lessons here.
Sure.
Uh, there's not a shred of truth in the idea that President Trump is trying to be a monarch. Not at
Yeah.
all. And the fact of the matter is, the powers that he is exercising in his executive orders are ones that have been exercised in this country for quite a while.
Sure.
And if they're going to be expunged, it's going to take either Congress or the Supreme Court
Yeah.
to do something about it. I've got a couple of interesting fun facts on this if you would like
Sure.
for me to share those.
Go ahead.
So executive orders are not created by any single clause in the Constitution. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I actually did not.
Instead, their authority is implied from a combination of constitutional powers already granted to the president plus laws passed by Congress. So there is some congressional sanction here.
Right.
The constitutional basis that they are understood to derive from, those powers are implied from the Constitution, not express or not explicit. Executive orders draw their legitimacy primarily from two places. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, which says, quote, "The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States." Okay, so the entire executive power is vested in one person.
Yep.
A president. What
Yep.
president? Whoever is the president right now. Okay.
Right.
All right. Then the second one is Article 2, Section 3. The president, it says, quote, "shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed," unquote.
Yep.
These presidents argue and have argued, if I must execute the laws, I have the power to direct executive branch officers as to how to do so. That direction is what we now call an executive order. So that's where it comes from.
Got it.
Some quick additionals here. Congress can explicitly or implicitly authorize executive action, that is to say, in delegation statutes. And then Executive orders are valid only if they rest on existing lawful authority, either from the Constitution or from previously enacted law. So there are limitations that can be and have been put on the presidents in the past who have overstepped. You said overreach, who have overreached
Yeah.
in some regard.
Sure.
And so that's been done typically by the Supreme Court. Limits that the courts have established are that executive orders are constitutional only if both of the following are true. So another set of fun facts here. First of all, if it's true that they are based on an authority the president legitimately has constitutionally or statutorily. So if it's sanctioned in the Constitution, if it's whether it's express or implicit, if it's in the Constitution, can be found there some way, and if it's not against the law
Right.
in some other way. The second one is they have the authority, according to the Supreme Court, if they do not override or contradict an act of Congress. So Congress passes a law, the president says, I don't like that law, I'm going to come up with this executive order
Right.
that circumvents it or directly takes it on. The president's executive order loses because presidents don't make laws.
Right.
Congress
makes
is
laws.
imbued with the power to make laws.
Right.
And presidents have overstepped their authority. For example, in a case called Youngstown Steel in 1952, President Truman tried to seize steel mills in this country without Congress. And the Supreme Court shut that down.
Yeah.
Because you don't take over as a president.
Nope.
Private enterprise.
Can't do it.
So executive orders are constitutional only as tools to carry out powers the president already has, either from Article 2 itself or from laws passed by Congress. They do not create new laws. And that's an important point because people think that this gives the president or a governor in a state the
Sure.
authority to create a law. And that's really not true. They already have this authority. Maybe it's never been exercised before.
Right.
But when the president finds that he has the authority, he may use it constitutionally.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, that's probably enough of that. Those are just some fun facts on what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So, when the president actually has the constitutional authority to commit an executive order, this is not him being a king.
No, it's
or a dictator,
right. No,
or an autocrat, or any of the above. It's
right.
him exercising his constitutionally, a delegated authority.
Sure. Well, and I think
And
everybody
he's
needs
perfect. Just because people don't like it does not mean he doesn't have the authority. And
Right.
it's funny that these people didn't complain when Biden did it or when Obama did it. It's only
Sure.
now that they're complaining about
Well, they
it.
do,
So,
and I think
that's-
everybody's guilty of this. Everybody, well, no, not everybody, but I mean, it seems like people complain when the party is in power that they don't like. All of a sudden, this comes under fire. So you got
yeah,
you
that's
know
more true of one than of another. But
it is,
yeah.
but people complain about it. And so I always tell I'm fond of telling my boys, be careful what you celebrate because the pendulum will swing back. It will swing back, and so you got to be you got to be kind of careful. So
Yeah.
but
Yes.
so yeah, that's the No Kings protest. But on happier news, earlier this week, on Monday, President Trump was able to negotiate, or was helpful in negotiating the ceasefire that
Yes.
saw the Israeli hostages released as part of the ceasefire agreement.
Yeah.
And so,
Hallelujah.
yeah, that was great. And so, there's been some interesting things that have happened around that. So first of all, we're so excited for those families, for those people, for those hostages that were released and that have come back. And then we mourn with those who mourn when they got, they also released the bodies of those who were killed, because that is sad. What I do find odd, though, and this is not about that, is all the people. There's the actors guilds and the screen, all these people who have now
Yes.
suddenly gone silent. There's the girl. I don't even remember her name because I don't watch the show she's on. But there was this big news article where she basically used a swear word and during her acceptance speech to uh, you know bleep Trump, and free Palestine. And then you have
Yeah.
people like Mark Ruffalo, Susan Sarandon, and all these
Yeah.
others
The
who have
usual
been,
gang of idiots.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, and then
As
like
Mad
Javier
Magazine used to
Bardem
say.
and all these things. I mean, there's been these reports where they are just screaming for stop the atrocity. Now again, I want to be clear. I'm quoting them, not believing what they're saying. So I want to be real clear when I say these words. Stop the
Okay.
atrocities, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to use the other words they use because I don't even want to give, voice
Understood.
to those. But stop the atrocities, and there's got to be a ceasefire, and we put a stop to this. Well, okay, Trump did,
Yeah.
and then you hear from them crickets, nothing.
Crickets. Yeah.
Okay, it's like a child. And one of the things, and I heard
It's
this,
exactly like that.
that you and I love to we love the Rick and Bubba show. And I
Mhm.
heard, and now it's the Rick Burgess show, and I heard Rick
Yeah.
talking about this, and Adler, one of the people on the show, he produces it and does all the video and stuff, and he's very talented. But he has two kids, and he said, I saw this happen. He says, my two kids were fighting over a toy. So his daughter, he said, okay, you get it for another minute, and then it's going to be his turn. And his son was his son's like 2. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very
Yeah.
young.
Sure.
And he said he's just stomping around because he's mad. So then it was his son's turn with the toy. So he gave him the toy. He didn't want the toy. He wanted to stomp around. He said, so you're just going to be an angry little fella right now. That's what you want to be. You want to be an angry little fella. Now, the story wasn't directly tied to Hamas and everything else, but I remember that story
Right.
because right now, it doesn't seem like they want, and it's performance
Right.
activism. They don't want the actual solution because then they can't stomp around angry and have everybody
Right.
go, oh, look at these people
Right.
who are fighting for a cause. It's performance activism.
Right. Absolutely. That's a good phrase, actually. That's exactly what it is.
And so they want to stomp around and just be angry little fellas or ladies, whatever,
Yeah.
because it makes them look like good. They're men or women of the people.
Well,
And these are the
yeah.
same people, okay? And it's very interesting to me, okay? We'll use Mark Ruffalo because I
Oh,
like
yeah.
I like
One of the
Avengers.
greats.
Oh yes, I like Avengers, and he plays Bruce Banner and the Hulk and
Yeah.
everything else.
I always liked it when he turned into the Hulk, so we didn't quite get as clear a picture of his face. Okay, that was uncalled for. We should
But
expunge
but
that.
you know what I think is interesting is he's screaming about the poor and
Yeah.
the gap in the classes, okay? And he's trying to cut the ladder that you know how much money he made for Avengers?
A lot, I would
Oh,
imagine.
insane amount of money for Avengers.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about, Mark, if you want to talk about it and you want to deal with it, just give some of your money away. Take a pay cut. You know what? For the next Avengers movie for Doomsday that's coming out, how about this? Why don't you do it for free? If you're so concerned about this gap, how about you just do it for free, Mark? See, he's cutting the ladder that he himself
Right.
climbed, by the way, to make these, and I'm using air quotes here, exorbitant salaries, okay?
Right.
The salaries are what the market will bear. That's what I find, it's like people go, well, Major League Baseball players are overpaid. They're actually paid what the market will bear. It's called a free market. Same with NFL football players. If everybody stopped going to the games and stopped watching, you know what would happen? The market would not bear it anymore. It works because people go and watch your movies. They go and watch it, so they go, well, this movie's going to cost this much money to make, and it's going to cost this much, but we're going to make this much.
Yeah.
Okay, it's what the market will bear. And
Right.
here's the thing, and you're trying to cut it for everybody else but you. That's socialism.
Yeah.
That's socialism at its finest. You want to be part of the ruling class. You want to talk about this where nobody else can get rich, nobody else can do this. It goes back to the same thing with what they're doing when they're protesting. Again, I got off topic. Now here's the point. Here, here's the thing, and I find it so odd. No, now there has been, I saw it on Fox News. They're calling him out, but other people have really started to call him out and started saying, "Hey, wait a minute, you guys are being real quiet. You guys were screaming really loud." but now you're being silent when what you wanted you got, and now you're not
Hmm.
saying anything.
Yeah, it's a great point.
You got it, but you didn't want. But now, but we can't. You can't give it to. You can't give credit because you simply cannot give credit where credit is due. Now, I want to make one point here, though. There was an actress in Britain, and I don't. Her name escapes me, but mad props to her because she actually came out and said, I want to give President Trump credit because I had Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and I was all over him about this, but he made good and he brought peace to this
Yeah,
region. And so she
yeah.
came out and said, "Look, I was wrong."
And
And
there are other people that are people I don't agree with
yeah,
politically, and in some cases religiously,
yeah,
um, that I have to give kudos to, or I have to give a voice of appreciation to, um, because unlike most of the others, they actually had the integrity to acknowledge
yeah,
a good work that was done by a man that they don't support.
yeah.
One of those is, oh my goodness, who is the congressman from Pennsylvania who I'm thinking of here?
Fetterman.
Yes, Fetterman. I mean,
Fetterman's
ver-
actually surprised me a lot lately.
yeah,
I'm going
me
to say
too.
this.
Me too.
I'm not so sure he's as much of a Democrat as
Well,
you think he is.
he's still got some pretty
He still
bad
does,
leftist
but he's
ideas, but
starting to he's
he
starting
at
to lean
least
our
tries to
way.
offer up a voice of reason as opposed to hair on fire ideology
Yeah.
and everything. So, um, and then the sports guy
Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, I was going to say Stephen Smith, and I knew that didn't sound right. Stephen A. Smith has impressed me in his assessment, and he's not a Trump fan, but
No.
is very fair minded. Uh, it- the the one I was really surprised was Abby Phillip, who gave a very fair. I mean, she's no fan of the president, but she gave a very fair statement on her show um, before they started discussing
Uh,
things right after the release of the
yeah.
hostages. So there are some
Well, one
voices
of the
out there where it's you have to see this and go, this is a good thing. You really have to see that.
right. Well, and see, I
If you're
saw,
any kind of a conscionable individual at all.
interestingly enough, President Trump went on the Greg Gutfeld show.
Yeah.
They got the highest. He's very fond of saying this, and he's not wrong. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't watch the Greg Gutfeld show. I'm talking about President Trump. Is very fond of
You
saying.
watch the President Trump show? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's the Greg Gutfeld show, but he's very fond of saying what I'm about to say, and that is they got the highest ratings that the Greg Gutfeld show has ever gotten. Now, let me just
Okay.
say this.
Well, no surprises there.
Right, Gutfeld is already beating all the other late night hosts. I mean, and I don't
Yeah,
mean
no,
like
so
beating
it's
them.
like it's over
He
the
is
top.
destroying them. But they
Yeah.
actually beat network TV ratings. I mean hard.
Yeah.
Well, one of the guys on the Greg Gutfeld show is a guy goes by the stage name of Tyrus. Tyrus, and
Yeah, I know who he is.
he's not a Trump fan. And because of the whole ceasefire thing and because of just the way Trump was and some things that he found out, Tyrus was given an interview by President Trump, and Tyrus basically
I
said to
remember
him,
that.
he said, "Look, I'm not a fan of yours, but after getting to know you and getting to know the family man that you are, you spent time with my daughter, and if somebody didn't know, they would have thought you were related to my daughter, and I have been a very vocal, s- you know, dissenter of yours, but that didn't matter to you when it came to my daughter. He's got a very young daughter. He said you
Yeah.
were so good with her. You talked to her about her horses. And I watched this interchange, and he said nobody sees that side of you, and I wish that they would. And he asked him a couple questions like, "Why don't you show that one?" And he goes, and I think Trump's answer is because I'm the president. People need to see me as the president. I am that guy with my family, and I will do that for people when I go do that with their daughters. But he said, but I'm not gonna. He's basically not trading on that image. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was interesting because Tyrus said, while we're not going to agree on everything, I have a newfound respect for you. And it was very interesting to watch. And this is the thing: if people could get past themselves and the talking points, and I think I've said this to you before. Barack Obama and I are never going to agree on policy. Okay, we're just not. Like him and like there are things, and there's not a lot we're going to agree on. But you know what I think I could do if I had, not if I had to, but if I was given the opportunity, him and I could sit down, have a, I would have a hot chocolate because I don't drink coffee. Okay, so that's we could have coffee and we could talk about our families because he loves his wife, he loves his daughters.
I think people need to know that you don't drink coffee because it puts you to sleep.
It puts no, actually, I am the caffeine puts me to sleep.
It's
Actually,
like it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, folks.
but yeah, if I drink caffeine, it'll put me to sleep like really, really
Yeah.
quickly. Caffeine does not help me stay awake at all. So, um, but because again, if we could just learn to find common ground, and I don't mean you have to give up on your ideals. That's not what I'm saying. But the Bible talks about come let us reason together. We've lost the ability to sit together and just have a conversation. It doesn't have to be about what we disagree on.
So what happens if you talk to somebody and they have the wrong ideals?
I think the best way, I think, Russell, it's interesting when we look
So
at
you're saying they don't have to, they should not give those up in favor of right ideals?
I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm saying, for example, Barack Obama's probably never going to come to my side of the fence. But if I
I don't know. I mean,
Well, here's the thing.
he might meet Jesus Christ. He might meet Yeshua.
Absolutely. But the way that I can help if I'm being used, and I agree with your point, the way that I can do that is by having a cup of coffee and I'll have hot
Yes,
chocolate.
agreed.
And let's
Agreed.
talk about his family. Let's not sit down and start
The
loggerheads.
reason I raised the
first.
question, and I know you don't believe this.
Yes.
But there is this idea that floats around out there that you should not try to change people's minds.
I don't agree with that at all. Yeah,
I know
you're
you
right.
don't.
Yeah,
I know
no.
you've tried to change mine on some stuff.
Oh
so,
yeah,
and
no,
you've
I'm
succeeded
not
on a few things.
right.
So
And you've
it's
changed mine, but I think what we say is
and so that's not really. I mean, we're being dishonest. All of us, the
Yeah.
entire human race, is being dishonest when we say that, because if someone is opposing us on something
Sure.
and we're offering alternative ideas, we may be being very well-mannered individuals, and I
Sure.
think we should be when it's possible to do that.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean we're not trying to change their mind.
No, and
And
I
it
don't
doesn't mean they're
disagree with
not
that.
trying to change ours. We're trying to change minds. All of
And
us
what
are.
we could also do is agree to disagree, but we could also, I think the
Right.
way you start the conversation is not with the points you disagree on. Find some common ground you do agree on. Like I said,
That's the wise thing.
and that way at least you have some starting point. And for example, let me go back to that with he loves his family. He's on record and he's shown that. He loves his daughters, he loves his wife. I love my wife, I love my sons. You know what I'm saying?
There's
So
some people that will disagree with you on him loving his wife, but I wouldn't be one of them. So
and that's and we can start there. We can have conversations about family. Now
Right.
he's never going to
Right.
sit down for coffee with me. I understand that.
Right.
But I'm saying if it was ever there, I mean it goes back to the way we approach it.
Mhm.
And if and the fact of the matter is, allowing discourse to happen.
Right.
But all of this we I'm way off topic here to get on, but I do have a point, and that is again, um so the ceasefire happened and these people went silent because we can't have a discourse because you cannot in any way, shape, or form give somebody their props because that might just help them.
Yeah.
No, how about
Yeah.
it's good for the human race that we're not firing guns at each other and
Yeah.
that hostages are returned. I don't care. You know what I'm
So
going to
the
say?
point is that we're going to be contrarian
Yeah,
so that we can try to take a guy down, and
yeah,
truth be darned.
yeah, exactly. And see, I'm going to say
And
this. I don't care who would have negotiated it. I don't care which president it was. If it was negotiated and the
Mhm.
person was a terrible person, I may not like the
Mhm.
person, but I would say on this particular point, great job. I may not agree
Oh,
with him
yeah.
on anything else, but on this,
I said that
fantastic
about
job.
President Obama, and
Yeah.
I'm no fan of
Oh yeah,
his.
no.
But I gave him kudos, and so did some other people I know.
Yeah.
That when he did when he executed the order to take out Osama bin Laden,
Yeah.
which is what he should have done, and that's what he
Absolutely.
did do.
And and I can say this with no reservation. He made America safer when he did that.
Now, yes, he did, and it was good for everybody,
Yes.
and except for bin
Well,
Laden, maybe.
and
But
yeah, yeah.
and here's the thing: if I'll just make a quick point here, if people on the right had behaved like people on the left do today at
Right.
that time, we'd have all been rallying, saying, "Oh, yeah, well, he did that because President George W. Bush actually got everything set up to make that possible,
Right.
and he just executed the plan that was already
In
uh,
place.
concocted by the Bush
Right.
administration, and by the way, that was really not something that he did for right. That was something that he did for politics,
Yeah,
and then we would come up with some,
sure.
list of things that were probably not even true that
Yeah,
uh, were supposed to be how he was going to benefit in a bad way from doing that. And in other words, we would have come up with every reason in the world that was probably not true
sure.
just to bring him down.
Yeah,
And that's what the left is doing today. And we see them and
yeah,
they're getting away with none of it. And
yeah.
they're
Yeah,
fooling no one except the people that have already decided to be deceived by them.
yep.
And it's really just a monumental act in foolishness.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then to go along with this though, and I don't know what the over under was, and I'm not trying to be flippant about that, by the way.
Yes.
But you and I were very, I wanted it to work. I do want it to work. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, but again, there's an old joke, about the scorpion and the turtle. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And where the scorpion, for those of you who don't know it, and I don't know why you, everybody now is probably screaming, we know, shut up. But for those of you who don't, the
Please
scorpion,
don't tell us again.
yeah, right. The scorpion convinces the turtle, or he's trying to convince the turtle to take him across the river. And the turtle says, no, you're a scorpion. You'll sting me. And then, well, I'll die. And he says, no, I won't. I won't. I promise. I give you my word. I won't. I promise. No, 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 seriously, I won't. And this goes back and forth for a while. So finally, the turtle relents and he says, look, but you got to promise not to sting me. Okay, I promise. I promise. So they get about halfway across the river, and the scorpion stings the turtle, and the turtle starts to die and drown. And just before he dies, and the turtle's going to drown. I mean, the scorpion's going to die too. And he says, but you promised me you wouldn't do this. And the scorpion looks at him and says, I'm a scorpion. It's in my nature. Why are you shocked? So you got to, the moral of that story being, if somebody's a scorpion, they're going to sting you.
Yeah.
No matter what
Now,
they, no matter how,
fortunately, and thank God, there was a man that came some 2,000 years ago to
yes,
change the nature of
to
people
change the nature of people. Amen.
from being a scorpion to
And
being something that is far
to
better.
handle that sin nature and to handle
Yes.
the sin problem.
So you don't want to, like in Les Miserables, you don't want to adopt the idea that Javert did, that Inspector Javert did, that if someone is born a certain way, that's just
Right.
the way they are. So if you're born, if you steal, then that proves that you're a thief, and
Right.
that's just the way your DNA is.
No,
And
correct.
so you must be pursued by those that are not of
Right.
that
No, but it takes a
ilk.
catalyst of
And there's
change.
no changing for
No.
you. But Jean Valjean,
Right.
as goes the story, shows that that's not true.
Right.
Uh,
Agreed. And
but because of his encounter with God.
right, because again of his encounter with God. And so we know that an encounter with Jesus changes and we become new.
Right.
So we are no longer scorpions, by the way.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
so here's the thing though. Hamas has not had that encounter.
No,
And they
no,
have
that's
broken
right.
the ceasefire. And
Yeah.
so now they were, according to reports today, and today being, this Sunday. So when you
Right.
hear this, it'll be, past news a little bit. But according to the reports, uh, that I'm reading, that are published reports, they have, earlier on Sunday, the terrorists fired an anti-tank missile and gunfire toward IDF troops operating to dismantle terrorist infrastructure in the Rafah area in southern Gaza in accordance with the ceasefire agreement. So they were, what the IDF was doing was in accordance with all the ceasefire agreements.
Mhm.
So in response, the IDF has begun striking in the area to eliminate the threat and dismantle the tunnel shafts and the military structures used for terrorist activities. So it didn't take Hamas long to um, to break the ceasefire, and they were actually accused of the day after. I read, as well. There was published reports that Israel was accusing them of breaking the ceasefire agreement because they didn't return the hostages that had died.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's
I mean, that's
this.
clear.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I guess, also JD Vance will be on the ground in Israel tomorrow. Well, okay, let me stop using words like tomorrow. On Monday, the
Okay, good.
20th. And so it looks like he's going to go over
Monday the
there.
20th.
Yeah, Monday the 20th, and he's going to go ahead and handle some business, we hope, and get this straightened out and say, okay, look, this is what's going to happen, and we're going to take care of it. Because again, at this point, quite a few of the Arab nations have said, look, we're not okay, we're done.
Yeah,
We
and
want
rightly
peace.
so.
We're done. Okay, and we're
Yeah.
not giving them quarter. We're not funding them. So do what you have to do. We're done with this whole back and forth is, and again, Israel needs to abide by it. I'm not, please don't hear me that Israel can do whatever they want. That's not what I'm saying. There's rules in place, and and if somebody breaks them, then let's let's whatever the consequences are, you
But if
suffer
the
those.
United States does not do something about
Yeah.
this, then Israel is within their rights to
Oh
respond.
no, absolutely, and I think
And
that's the case.
that's the thing that,
Yeah.
that people on purpose sidestep.
Yes. Well,
They are a sovereign nation.
yeah,
They are not the people that Candace Owens tries to tell us that they are. She's just wrong. There's a host of reasons that we could go into, but that's beyond the scope of this particular episode.
sure,
But she's just wrong, and so is Tucker Carlson, and so are the other people that run around with them with the same message.
sure,
And they have every bit the right to respond, to protect themselves, and to get the bodies of their citizens back, and
Sure.
whatever else is necessary.
Yeah.
just like we have that right,
absolutely.
and so does
Well,
every other sovereign nation.
It's self-defense. If you're fired
Oh, yeah.
upon, you can fire back.
And not only that, but this organization is just being purposely petty and
Yeah,
they're being anti-people. They need to be eliminated. Now, I'm not saying kill every one of them necessarily. I'm saying that Hamas needs to cease to exist
they need to. What they need
by
to do,
whatever means is necessary to make that happen.
they need to be taken out of the power structure of Gaza so that they're not running things anymore.
They need to be taken out of existence on the planet Earth. That's my position.
And
In any organization that does what they do, and they're not the only ones. Now, we could talk about the whys behind the what in a future episode if you want to. But
sure,
yeah, they are. We are kidding ourselves in the West if we think that there is some political answer to this. I think I've said that in a prior podcast episode, but we're kidding ourselves if we think that we can politic our way around this.
well, and there is.
And Hamas is showing us as much right now
Well, we're not able
with this violation
by
of
not being able to abide by the ceasefire. Yes.
yes, and by not returning. Yes, we'll return the bodies of the deceased, and then they don't.
Right.
Is that not giving? Forgive me for saying it this way, but the double finger, two middle fingers to the United States and Israel, and
Yeah.
the Arab nations that were supportive of this initiative, and any other nations that were
Sure.
supportive of this initiative. So
Absolutely.
yeah, they're not anybody's friends.
Well, they're not
And
showing
and,
any.
the-
For
and
sure.
that people would get on their podcasts and other petty venues and try to defend them in any form or fashion is just that is an atrocity itself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and that brings us to next week. We are going to
Yes.
have some special guests on the show with us.
Yes, we are.
We're going to dive into this topic a little bit further about kind of Islam, Israel, and the spread of Islam in Europe and the West and
Yeah, to
things
the
like
United
that,
States.
and to the United States and things like that. So we're gonna have a really kind of roundtable discussion about it. So it should be good. So make sure you
Yes.
join us. Tell your friends. And before we go, I want to make sure we get a plug in for our sponsor, Mountain Mowers. We love mountain mowers, and so if you're in the Tri-County area, they are your local experts for keeping your yard looking its best. Whether it's mowing, trimming, or full lawn care, Mountain Mowers has you covered with reliable service and personal touch. They know every yard is different, and they treat yours like their own. If you're ready for a lawn that stands out without all the hassle, call Mountain Mowers LLC today at 276-730-8230. Mountain Mowers, they cut grass, not corners. So we love Mountain Mowers. So
Nicely done, Rob.
thank you. Just paying the bills. So,
Right.
but we do love Mountain Mowers. It's not just paying the bills.
I know you do.
We
I
love
know you do.
Mountain
If
Mowers.
they were here in Texas, we'd love them.
Oh
too.
yeah, no, they're great. So give them a call. But Russell, as always, it's been fun, and we have had a good time, and we want to make sure that everybody knows. Again, remember, like, subscribe, comment, share with your
Yes,
friends. Bring
please.
somebody into the OTOP family who's not in, and email us, give us a call. As always, you do not have to stay on topic, as you saw tonight. You don't got to stay on topic, but you must stay on
On
point.
point.
Stay on point. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Looking forward to it, Russell. It's been a blast. Thank you, sir. And we will see you guys on the next episode of Off Topic On Point. See you guys
Bye-bye.
later. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening today to Off Topic On Point. We want to remind you of our email address if you'd like to contact us. It's otopnow@gmail.com. That's otopnow@gmail.com. And as always, we want to leave you with this. It's okay to be off topic. Just make sure you're always on point. All right. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.